Hello and welcome to my in-depth guide on making gil. I'll be talking about the different types of tips to look for when you're wanting to make gil. Disclaimer: these examples I show are purely examples. This guide is to help you as a player figure out your markets and do your own research. Tip number 1: check vendor prices on everything. When searching for some quick ways to make money, check a dye, housing, gear, and other types of vendors. Many times, the market board will have overpriced items versus the shop price. To look for the shop price, look at the bottom of any item to see if there's a shop selling price. You can see an example on your screen. You will have to Google where the vendor location is, but sometimes it is very worth it to do. Tip number 2: check for healthy markets. What is a healthy market? A healthy market is an item that has not a lot of sellers, but a lot of buyers. Sometimes you will find lots of sellers and not enough buyers. This can cause an item to not be worth as much. You want to look at the market board as how many people will buy this item. You can check if a market is healthy by looking at the history tab of the item. You can see that there is a timestamp and a date of when the item was bought. The more items that were bought per day means that it's a more healthier market. Tip number 3: be careful how you undercut. Undercutting is part of the game and it can be healthy in the right conditions. The difference between a healthy undercut and a market crash is understanding what market you're getting into. Let's say, for an example, you're getting into the Bianca main market as you have a stockpile of mains you want to sell, but you don't want to make the weapons. On my server, you can see the mains are selling for 438,000 per main, roughly. Right now, you can see that somebody actually is making the market unhealthy. What this person should have done instead is sell it at the lowest price that was already existing, which was 437,999, as that would be a healthier market. Now, he is starting a market crash. This crash might mean that the next person who puts up a main might even drop the price down to the 400,000. And then it keeps lower and then lower and lower, and now you're not making any profit. So be careful on how you undercut. Tip number 4: market is always changing. Not every item will always be in demand per day. Be ready to switch markets at any time of the day. During patches is when the FF14 market gets changed significantly, as there will always be new items, and with new items becomes different types of markets. So you have these different types of raw materials that will be needing to be sold. And the Moogle 12 is another perfect example of this, as right now, the Moogle 12 has the Shiver emote for 80 tomestones, and this item used to sell for 1 to 5 million gil, depending upon the time of month of when people were Eureka grinding. And now it's down to roughly 300k, slowly getting to that 200k. And so while you want to keep in mind that prices may go up or down, and you can plan ahead for this. Tip number 5: always be selling something. I cannot stress this enough. Even if it sells for low profit, this is more gil that you have now than you didn't have before. On an important note, always make sure that you are selling at the market board price is above the vendor price. Like, double check the shopping price. Having your retainers max out and selling will always yield more profit in the long term. Again, if you want short term, you will be looking for more grindy ways to make the money. So when you're looking at always selling, you generally want something that's worth selling, but also consistently selling. This can get overwhelming when you're selling something that's a hot item, say like the brand new hairstyle, or like a lot of these raw materials that are required for a brand new item. And you might see this item has been sold for X amount flying across your screen constantly. But the reward is really worth it. Tip number 6, investing. When making guilt, investing can be one of the best ways to make money, but it's also a high risk depending upon what you're investing. I'm going to go over a few examples just to get you an idea of what investing is in Final Fantasy XIV. My example number 1, primal weapons. Almost every extreme trial has a weapon that will get a crafted glowy version, and some of them look really good, some of them don't really look that great. It depends on your personal taste, but this is actually something worth investing in as it's high risk, high reward, as the patch release for these crafted weapons will have the prices all going up, and eventually it'll go back down. Like at the Byakko main, it used to go up to like 2 million gil, and now it's dropped down to this 438,000 range. This is still worth investing as like you'll get a lot more gil out of it, and if you're making the weapons, you'll be one of the first people diving into the market on patch release. Now, example number 2, Moogle Trove items. The Moogle Trove is sometimes a great place to buy and stock up on certain items, like hairstyles and emotes do go back up in price a few months later because people aren't going to be grinding the Moogle Trove. Some people aren't going to be grinding the areas. Like some of the hairstyles are from Heaven on High or Eureka, and not a lot of people like doing Eureka or Heaven on High. Now, with these two examples, you can see that investing isn't really meant for short term. There is short term investing markets that you could tap into, but that's your personal choice. You really want to think ahead and try and plan out these investments. Investing would be more of a better place for a veteran player than a newer player. So you'll find out that as a new player, you might not be able to invest because you might need a lot more money. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to discuss in the comments and add in any more tips that I might have missed. Have a wonderful day.